the good thing is that Hezbollah, we have made a, President Trump has made a lot of progress. Israelis made a lot of progress against Hezbollah, and now President Trump also has helped the Israelis with this whole peace deal agreement with Lebanon. So we have made a lot of progress there with Hezbollah. With the Houthis, it might be not that big of a deal. The problem with the Houthis is that even if they declare a blockade on around, for Saudi Arabia and Saudi Arabian ports, even if they don't do anything, it will still, just the fact that they announced it means that some Saudi ships would want to not go through Bab el-Mandeb. On Ali, by the way, today I learned that the Suez Canal is too narrow for big oil tankers. I didn't know that. I was like, oh, I thought it was horrible because instead of going through Bab el-Mandeb, they would have to go through the Suez Canal. And if they're going to go through Suez Canal, if they want to sell to China, they have to go all the way down, and it's going to be like a really long journey. Today I learned that they can't even go through. So if you want to get the oil
from Russia,
so if you want to get the oil through the Suez Canal, you have to empty the giant oil tankers to smaller Suez size boats and go through the Suez Canal, which is like a lot less capacity, or basically get it on shore in Egypt and get it through pipes, the rest of the way, which I think has only 2 million, less than 2 million a day, 2 million barrels a day oil capacity. So that's horrible. So the Houthis seem to be weak right now, but people are saying they could have an influence by just announcing a blockade, by saying like, yeah, we're going to hit you. And even if they don't do anything, the ships are like, nah, we don't want to go through. So that's the problem with the Houthis. But they're still the biggest card that the Islamic Republic is holding, like, don't do it, don't hit my power plants, don't hit my bridges, don't hit pickaxe, is still this. Still, because attacks on Israel is not very important, because Israel is doing a good job defending itself, and the Islamic Republic's missiles are not doing as much damage as they used to. So not doing that much of a damage. The Houthis might cause Saudi Arabia a lot of headache. I don't think the Americans would be that bothered. Yeah, sure, oil reserves, but it's still not that significant of a pressure yet on Bab el-Mandeb. People doubt how much pressure they could put. But the wild card, the main leverage that people are like, ooh, is this a big deal or is this not a big deal? Is the Islamic Republic's claim that we're going to go heavy on oil infrastructure, tech companies, and water desalination on the Arab countries around the Persian Gulf. So don't know how big of a deal that is, and we'll see, I guess, soon.
Saudi Arabia got the green light to deal with the Houthis from the US, so it looks like they're helping each other in some sort of way. But you're right. I don't know how much this threat by the Houthis is going to be, because the equipment that they are getting from the Islamic Republic is getting intercepted pretty well by Saudi and the government of Yemen. They'll still be able to do some significant damage by just capturing maybe 2, 3, 4 ships. That might be their capabilities, but after that, they're going to be wiped out. So they have to play that card at the exact moment that the IRGC wants them to play it on. I had some thoughts about what you could do or what should be done here against this Islamic Republic. So, as far as we know, Armin, the Islamic Republic is not a normal country. It doesn't care if its infrastructure is destroyed, because if it did, it wouldn't keep hitting the ships in the Strait of Hormuz. But it keeps on hitting them. And it knows that the infrastructure in the south of the country is going to get destroyed. It knows that Trump's threats about, wiping out the electrical power plants in Iran are a credible threat. And we've seen ports and railways and bridges and tunnels get hit. There's another couple of things that don't make the Islamic Republic a normal country. The Islamic Republic doesn't care if the citizens of its own country die. In fact, they've killed more of their own citizens than any war in the past 20, 30 years of its country has done. They've killed 100 times more through direct shooting of their own citizens, not to mention the mismanagement that cost millions of more Iranians' lives. They don't even care if their top leadership is killed. They don't even care if most of their leadership is wiped out. So you got a country that doesn't care if its infrastructure is destroyed, if its citizens die, or if its leadership is mostly killed. As long as a few of them are able to keep control of the Islamic Republic, that's the only important thing for them. They only care about them not being overthrown. So how do we fight a country that doesn't care if its population suffers, infrastructure is destroyed, and its leadership are mostly killed? I'm actually curious to see what people in the chat think. I think there's a couple answers here. I'm thinking of one in particular. I mean, how do you deal with a country like that?
Humiliation.
And what have we done to humiliate them?
After you defeat them, you bring them to the negotiating table, and you make them do the things that they promised they would never do, and then after they signed a agreement, then you bomb them. After they sign an agreement, after they sign an agreement, after they went to their own followers and their base of support, saying we had to sign this to stop the military operation, and we won. Right after that, you start bombing them. So you humiliated them, and then you also showed to their base of support that it didn't do anything. It was just a humiliation ritual.
Yes. So they're worried about being overthrown. So humiliating them works because they have 3% of the population. Humiliation 3%.
Humiliation works because this is ideological, and when it comes to when their main source, when these people's legitimacy is ideological, right? And that worldview needs to be broken. If you don't break that worldview, no matter how much, it's important to defeat them in the battlefield. It's important to crush them economically. But if you don't go at their root, which is their worldview, it will grow back always, right? You need to hit them. You need to hit the fundamentals where all of this is built upon. You need to make their base of support lose faith. You need to make them lose faith in the regime if you want the whole thing to come crumbling down.
And we'll tell you guys later what we're going to do in a post-free Iran to make sure that this doesn't happen again, ever. But it really hurts them, right? Because they only have 3% of the population. If that 3% gets splintered, starts fighting each other, I mean, at the end of the day, you need a portion of the population of a country, even if you're a murderous Nazi regime, to rule, right?
Right. So you mentioned the Nazis. Again, people have to understand that the Nazis and the communists, the Nazis in World War II and the communists in the Cold War were defeated also ideologically, right? Like it wasn't, the world had to, the way the Cold War was won was not just on battlefields. I mean, I know it was a Cold War, but there were still military operations everywhere, right? It wasn't just the military aspect of it, right? The Berlin Wall was brought down by average people. The Berlin Wall was not brought down by a military operation. Average people took it down. You know why average people took it down? Because the West won that battle, not just from in the battlefield, but also ideologically. That's what you have to do here. You have to utterly defeat these people in the battlefield of ideas.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
And that's why every single one of you here is a soldier in this battle. given that we're fighting the narrative war, the information war, and the psychological war, this is psychological warfare. Not just that means that every single one of you with a YouTube account, with an X account, with a Facebook account, with an Instagram account could participate in this global fight.
Even just liking and reposting, you don't have to go in and do any more than that. But make sure you are here on our side. The other part, how you overthrow this regime, you hit them at their ideological center, you split them apart, you make everyone against them. And I mean everyone, even their own supporters. But then the other way is money. No one can function. Doesn't matter how evil you are. If you don't have the money, you cannot carry out the means of evil.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.